Hi guys, it's Retireearly and welcome to today's session. And today I'm actually going to ask you some questions. So I'm named this video Financial Freedom. Are you busy chasing the money? And the reason why I say this is because lots of people fall into the trap of chasing money as opposed to actually chasing what they really wanted to get out of their property journey. Now, when everyone starts their property journey, everyone starts off with a view of achieving financial freedom and also time freedom. Now, for me, it was all about time, about getting more time with my friends, my family, and everyone around me so that I can choose what I do, when I do, and with who I do. And that was the biggest thing for me. But when I got involved in property, unfortunately, I found myself becoming busier than when I was previously. Now, I've always been involved in property, so a lot of you will know my story, and if you haven't, feel free to go and buy my book. It's called Boom Bust and Back Again, which is on Amazon. It's an Amazon bestseller. That's not a plug, by the way. That's just, and it's a hints and tips and almost like a property survival guide and all the things that I've done wrong in my property journey and how I corrected it to get me to the point where I am today. Now, going back to the story, when I first got involved in property, I became that busy fool where I was trying to do everything and anything to make money because I was chasing money. And what I am trying to say to you guys is that you shouldn't do that. That's probably the wrong approach. Grab a pad and pen and let's make some notes. Now, the first thing that I want you to do is literally write down all the different strategies and look at all the different segments in that strategy to understand what is it that you enjoy about that strategy and what part do you not enjoy. Because this will then allow you to understand where you're going to go with your journey. Now, I'll give you an example. If you want a portfolio of HMOs, are you going to get these via rent to rent or are you going to buy them? If you're going to buy them, how are you going to acquire them? Where are you going to get the money from? Where are you going to get the deposit from? Is it going to be your money? Is it going to be other people's money? And if you're going to buy them, who's going to manage them? Are you going to self-manage? Are you going to give them out to an agent? Are they going to look after them? Which means that you're going to pretty much become hands-off. Who's going to maintain them, etc., etc. So when I first started, I decided that I was going to self-manage everything. And I, at one point, was managing up to 600 tenants myself, which meant that I was doing all the adverts. I was taking all the phone calls, I was doing all the viewings, I was getting the calls from the tenants and the maintenance, and it just drove me, it just ground me down. And that's the best way of describing it. It ground me down to a point where I said, you know what, enough's enough. So I actually built a whole letting agency to look after my portfolio. And the way that we did it is that we then created a product, a letting agency, who now manages properties for other landlords as well, and as a result of that, it means that my properties are now managed for free. So that's the way that I did it. But I got to this point, but I had to go through the pain that I went through for many years. And if you read my book, you can see the pain of all the little things that I had to go through to get me to this point. Now, one thing I will say is that lots of people chase money. No, they don't try and go out and achieve the goal that they set themselves out for. And for me, it was time. Now, when I looked at all the different property strategies, I looked at from point of view is, what do I want to do? I wanted a business which will kind of run itself. I wanted something that's not going to take a lot of my time and it allows me to go off and do lots of other things. So I wanted lots of spin-offs from it as well. So what I did, I looked at all the strategies, rent to rents and HMOs. I'm still acquiring properties. I still acquire properties pretty much on a weekly basis. But now when I acquire them, I literally hand them over to my letting agency, which is literally at the front of my office. And as a result of that, I can still remain a level of control over it, but then they still manage it. I still get to see the figures as to what's it's generating, how many voids, how many bad debt, etc., etc. But I think I've become a lot better at that over the years. Now, moving forward, when I looked at all the strategies back in 2004 and between 2004 and 2008, we actually had a development company. And one of the things that we've got is, one of the things that we found when we had a development company is that I was the person to be paid last. And I really don't understand developers, if I'm honest. I went, at one point, we were building up to 200 units. And out of that, we would have to buy the site. Then we'd have to spend all the time doing the legals, the planning, the professionals, going through committee meetings, etc., liaising with all the different parties. Then we'd have to go off and get all the site appraisals done. We'd have to get the contractors on board, tenders, etc., get them built, and then start selling them off. In the meanwhile, we've got lending, so we've got money going out. Now, the reason why I don't like the development process, very simply, is because you're constantly paying out. And if you've built a house or if you're a developer, you should resonate with me right now. Because what happened is that first you've got to buy the site, which means you're spending money on it. Then you've got to do all the planning, you're spending money. You're engaging people, you're spending money. You're building the thing, you're spending money. In the meanwhile, you've got all these leverage like your lending costs, you're spending money every month. Now, the average developer profit is around between 20 to 25% of the gross development value. So let's just say that the gross development value is £1 million. Your profit margin will be within the region of 200 to 250,000. Now that seems like a great figure. And if you get your project done within 12 to 18 months, it's a lot of money to make within that period. However, in order to realise that, they've got to jump through a lot of hoops. You've got to be spending the best part of 750,000 to get that 250,000, which obviously makes a £1 million gross development value. Now, these are all very broad numbers, should I say, and that's my disclaimer that this is not financial advice. This is literally just my opinion. So, moving on. When we got to the end of the development, and if you work on the basis around 20 to 25% being the developer's margin, we found that the last two units was kind of our profit in the job. And as a result of selling all the other units now, we're now left with what we would probably consider the two unwanted units, shall we call it. Now, let's just imagine that you built 20 units, you sold the other 18. Why did the other 18 sell first? Is it because they're the better units? Are you now left with the dregs of the development? Now, I'm not saying that that's correct, but we found that when we built, we were left with probably two of the smaller ones, and you can't really pick which two you're going to keep. You can do, but then you're limiting your development as well. And we were left with those two, and then as a result of that, we found that we were having to discount them because we then became a motivated seller to get off-site. The longer we had those, the longer we still had lending, which meant that we were consistently on site and we were still accountable to all the other people that had bought the properties as well. So the quicker we can get off site, the better. And as a result of that, we became motivated. So originally we arranged for a £250,000 profit based on 25%. We eventually probably ended up coming out with around 180 to 200. Based on the fact that we gave concessions, we gave discounts in order to get off-site as quickly as possible. So I always said from that day on that I wanted to create a business that paid me first, not last, because as a developer, I get paid last. As a deal sourcer, I get paid first. They pay me before they even go and see the property. With rent-to-rents and other properties, I decided that I was going to create a business that allowed me to control and not necessarily own. I already own a lot of property. We've got a best part of 1,100 tenants in the portfolio. So I don't really want to own anymore. I think we've got enough. But what we do is we simply take more properties on the basis of it being the control, which means we can do rent to rent, we do lease options, we get options. So just so you know, whilst I'm recording this, we've actually got an option on a piece of land where we've paid £1 for the option, and this is another strategic way to acquire property. We paid £1 to acquire the option on the land. We're going to go off and get planning permission for up to 30 apartments. Our sweet spot is 20, so we know that at 20 we break even, the other 10 is kind of profit, so there's a lot of money in this. But just so you know, I'm not intending on building it. I'm literally going to get planning and I'm going to dispose of the site. And it takes me back to my point that I don't want to be paid last, I want to be paid first. So someone's going to pay me for that site, which without me putting the spade in the ground. All I'm doing is doing a little bit of legal work, a little bit of planning framework, which is not going to cost a lot of money. And I've not acquired the site, which means that I don't have all the lending costs as well. So that really works for me. Now on the deal sourcing, on the deal trading side, it's fast, it's aggressive, and that's what I like. With buy-to-lets and owning property, once you've bought it, it becomes a little bit laborious day in, day out, dealing with tenants, with maintenance stuff. And that's the part that I kind of didn't like. That's why I managed to create the systems and the letting agency to look after that. I now look after the stuff that I enjoy, and the stuff that I enjoy is the deal trading. It's fast, it's aggressive. 1 minute I'm negotiating, 1 minute I'm selling it. I've made the money in the middle. I'm out onto the next deal. We've created the Property Investor app, which is the UK's first property investment marketplace in the form of an app. And I can only have done that because I've enjoyed the stuff that I've done along the way. More importantly, the business that I've created allows me to stop and start it when I please, but we've got people in places now in order to do all the bits so that it allows me to go off and create other businesses. My PA is actually looking at me right now thinking I'm a little bit crazy because every day I'll come in and say, oh, Fran, we've got something new to do. Fran, is that right?
It's right.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. But it allows me to do these things, which means that it's bought me back time. Now, last week, I decided to go and spend a week in Cornwall in one of my holiday homes. And the reason why I did that is because I knew that everything was working in the background. Going back to my goal, I wanted to build time into my goal. I spent that whole week dedicated to my kids, my family, no phone, took no calls, and it's perfect. Everything still ran well. And that, to be fair, that's a great testament to Fran and the team that we've got, because Fran kind of looks after the mayhem that I create in the office. Is that right, Fran?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Fran kind of looks after the mayhem in the office, and Fran kind of controls my diary, which is great, to make sure that I'm not becoming too busy. And it allows me, so for argument's sake, in my diary now, I've got time during the day where I go to the gym, I pick up the kids, and literally, other than a Monday, which is a day that I dedicate to some of my mentees in the evening, I kind of don't work in the evening, so I work 9 to 5. So it's brought back all the things. So the one thing that I'd like you to resonate from this video is kind of think about where you are in your journey right now. What are the things that you're doing, and are you really enjoying them? Are they really getting you to the point where you thought you've time free, or are you chasing money? Now, I don't believe that I'm chasing money any longer. I used to. Now I just create businesses, and the businesses run and they're sustainable for themselves. But in order to do that, you've got to get yourself to that position. In order to get to that position, you kind of systemize where you are with your properties. Giving you another example, one of my HMOs, I've got a 23-bed HMO, which is quite well documented in some of the articles that I write. And you'll see that it actually takes me about 20 minutes a week. And that 20 minutes a week is literally a phone call to the caretaker who manages it all for me from A to Z. We've got 23 benefit tenants in that property. Now, to some, that would be an absolute nightmare. To me, it's an absolute dream because I don't deal with it. I've got people in places that do that. We've got the head caretaker in the building that looks after that. So these are little things that you can do to buy back time. It's all about time freedom. Lots of people talk about financial freedom, and yes, you need money to be able to survive, but ultimately everyone gets involved into property so that they can buy back some time so that they can enjoy their time with their family. On that note, guys, hopefully you've taken away some tips there. If you've got any questions, please feel free to comment below and I'll answer as many as I can. More importantly, if you want some more free content, I've got a podcast that I release every Tuesday. It's called The Property Rebel. You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, as well as Spotify. We release it every Tuesday at 6 a.m. So whether you're going to the gym or whether you're getting ready for work, it's a perfect way to start your day. Finally, if you haven't already done so and you're looking for deals, have you downloaded the Property Investor app? Like I said earlier, it's the UK's first property investment marketplace in the form of an app. All you've got to do is go to your app store, whether you're on Android or whether you're on iOS, and type in Property Investor. It takes 2 minutes to download and register. As a result of that, you're going to see approximately 200 deals in the palm of your hand, and it's completely free. Let's see what you think of that. And again, I'm always open to feedback. If you want to have a chat, please feel free, put a comment below, and let's see if we can also book a call as well. So guys, on that note, have a great week, have a great day, and hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and I'll speak to you all very soon. Bye-bye.